Hey guys, in this video I want to talk about deadlift, or how to approach the deadlift for maximal results. Before I get into that topic, guys, I encourage you to stick around to the end of this video, find out how you can reach the big, hairy, ugly dude with your questions and or comments. So, just a little background. Deadlift is what I would consider my favorite lift. I'm very good at the deadlift. And just to give you a little background, last year at Nationals, I had a 672.5 deadlift at the age of 44. That was up 50 pounds from my last competition, which was 6 months prior to that. In the years since, I have hit a 700 by 2-inch deadlift off about a 1.5 inch to 2 inch blocks. And I have hit a 765 double off about 5-inch blocks. So my raw deadlift is about 725 pounds at the age of 45, using only a spud belt. So no deadlift suits, any of that kind of good stuff. So let's talk about deadlift training. I love the deadlift. There are some things I have learned. I've trained infrequently, I've trained frequently, and I want to share that stuff with you now. There are two major mistakes I see with early intermediate, late beginner, intermediate lifters with regards to the deadlift. The first big mistake is that they do too much volume. The second big mistake is that they train heavy too frequently. I have not found excessive volume from the floor or excessive frequency training, excessive intense training frequently to be of any benefit at all. I recommend that you never train the deadlift above 90% of your 1 rep max. I have played around with that the past year, and I have found that when I was trying to pull singles every other week above 90%, the payoff just wasn't there. But when I dialed that number down into the 80 to 90% range for deadlifts, and did singles, doubles, or triples, or whatever I was doing, I saw a nice little increase in my deadlift. I think the payoff, for some of you, you can lift heavy and there's a payoff. You can lift above 90% and there's a payoff, but I don't think for most of you that you should be training the deadlift above 90% every week. And I really don't think you should be going for maxes. I think you should be grinding out your reps, getting your form in, and saving your max attempts for the platform. I also don't think that volume from the floor is the best way to approach the deadlift either. I have found that 3-4 sets max has been kind of a sweet spot. Even sometimes 2 or 1 set, only 1 or 2 working sets a week has worked for me. I have refined my training over the years, and I kind of alternate either or between a heavier-ish day where I'll work up based on how I feel that day to 85 to 90% in weight, and based on how I feel, I might pull a single, I might pull a double, or if I feel like a Superman, I might even pull a triple or a quad or whatever. On the off days, I usually make sure that I dial it down by at least 5%. On the off weeks, on the lighter weeks, I usually make sure I dial things down by at least 5%. And, I might do a couple of doubles, a couple of triples, at 5 to 10% less or whatever. So I think when you're approaching the deadlift, you don't want to train heavy every week. I prefer heavy every other week, and my definition of heavy is max 85 to 90% pulling. Now, with that said, guys, there are some assistance exercises for the deadlift that I believe really help, and you can use a lot more volume with. Number 1 is squats. A big squat is really going to help your deadlift. I like more of a conventional stance, not a super wide stance. I like a conventional stance that has built big quads for me, monster quads, and this has really helped with my deadlift. So that's one exercise you can do to build up your deadlift that doesn't require deadlifting. Another piece of advice I want to give you is to get your upper back as strong as humanly possible. I want you to get some Versa grips or some straps, and I want you to start rowing some real weight. Once I started using straps, or Versa grips rather, I got my dumbbell rows from 110 by 10 reps up to 250 for 10 reps. Yes, that's one arm rows. My barbell rows are up to 400 for about 3 to 5 reps. You want that upper back to be as strong as possible. You want it, when you're pulling, you want that to be a strong body part. You want all the back strength you can get. So concentrate on getting your back as strong as possible. Don't be like babying your rows, like, slow mind muscle connection stuff. Use good form, but explode those suckers up. Explode those up, build power, build strength. Another tip I have regarding deadlifts is pulling from the floor every week can be hard. So you might want to alternate it with something like rack pulls, low rack pulls or high rack pulls. If you want to train the deadlift multiple times a week, you can do a deadlift workout and then a rack pullish workout. I have found that I could do both during a week on 2 different days and recover. Floor pulling for me was the hardest. I could not floor pull 2 to 3 times a week without it taking its toll. But when I added a second deadlift day and it was a rack pull or a power shrug, it worked fine. So basically here what I'm trying to get around to is rack pulls don't work, even though they're generally heavier than your deadlift, generally don't crush your body the same as regular deadlifts are. They generally don't stress your body the same as regular deadlifts. When I do rack pulls, I usually alternate between low rack pulls and high rack pulls, but I do them with power shrugs as well. So I'll do the rack pull and then I'll finish out with power shrugs. I'll do the rack pull, I'll finish out with power shrugs. I really recommend that variation. I think it is a quality deadlift builder from low rack and from high rack, right above the knee and below the knee. If another great way I feel of building the deadlift is by monster power shrugs. Those will really hammer your traps, build you some strong traps. I usually set the bar above knee, and I start with 135 pounds. I'll get 135 pounds on the bar, and I'll do an explosive 5 to 10. Bam! Really explosive. None of this hold stuff, the bodybuilder-ish stuff. We're not in it for that. You're still gonna build crazy traps, kids, doing this explosive power shrug stuff. So don't fear the explosive movements. But anyway, back to the old spielage. I start power shrugs with 135 by 5 to 10. Then I slap 2 more plates on the end, 2 more 45s. I go to 225 and I go for minimum 5 reps. I go to 315, I go for a minimum of 5 reps. I go to 405, I go for a minimum of 5 reps. I go to 495, you get the picture. I keep working up till I get to about 675, 700, 765. At some point, you're going to be like, holy crap, that's getting heavy. You can start, at that point, you can just add 25s on the end. When you get to that point where you think you're about at your limit, I like to do a max rep set of power shrugs just to see what I am capable of. So guys, building the deadlift. Let's recap what the big hairy ugly dude is trying to tell you. Don't train above 90%. Don't train above 90%. A lot of you guys don't want to hear that, but that is my best advice. Save 90% plus for the platform. I also recommend considering alternating between an 85 to 90% deadlift day and a little bit lighter, say 75 to 80% deadlift day as well. That way you get a little bit of a rotation. You get some heavier work in, some heavier singles in one week, some doubles or triples the next. Next piece of advice, guys, limit your volume. Don't try to do 50 bazillion sets and reps on deadlifts. Every now and then, I like to go in, slap on 50% of my 1 rep max and, cram out a lot of reps. But in general, you don't need a lot of rep work with the deadlifts. Other advice to build your deadlifts: squat, 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 conventional stance squats, build those big quads, all that kind of good stuff. Get your upper back as strong as humanly possible, and don't hesitate to use low and high power shrugs, rack pulls and power shrug combinations, or just power shrugs by themselves. They are an excellent way to build your deadlift strength and your trap strength. So guys, I appreciate you sticking around this long deadlift video. I hope this has helped, guys. If you have any questions or comments about this video, guys, there is a link below. It is to a forum Q&A. You can come over, ask me any questions you want on the deadlift, on nutrition, on strength building, on muscle building, on supplementation, on fat loss, on which video games are best for the Xbox, on what food to eat on low carbs. I don't care what it is. Come over, ask the big hairy ugly dude. I'll hook you up, kids. Come on over to that link. It's a nice happy link at a nice happy location here on the worldwide inner tubes. So guys, as always, thanks for watching. Have a great day.